let me ask you this. Do you think if someone offers Kirk Cousins the highest paid contract in history of the NFL, because that's what it would be at the quarterback position, right?
Yeah.
You don't think he'd take it? Like if the Minnesota Vikings offered him that, he's obviously would stay and just sign the contract.
Right. I think if he gets that, if he gets the offer matched by Minnesota, which I know that's a franchise tag conversation, but it can happen in free agency as well. We've seen guys go out on the open market, not really like the open market, and come back to where they were at previously. I think that if he can get the type of deal that you just stated, of course he's going to take that. But I still consider that Minnesota will look at what it is that he's being offered, and that sets their market price for what it is that they're going to give to Kirk Cousins. I think it's almost like their way of getting out of the way of not overvaluing him or overpricing what the situation is, because we've seen teams price themselves out against themselves at times in Washington.
The other hard part is if you look at it from a state income tax perspective, just because that matters, right? When you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars or millions of dollars in this case, Minnesota, he would pay almost 10% in state income tax for those 8 home games, 9 home games, whatever that number is for the upcoming season. And let's just say Atlanta, since they are the best odds of being the other team that would be in the mix, he'll pay about a little less than 6%.
Oh, it's less.
Yeah.
Oh.
So if the deal was equal, he actually would make almost 5% more playing for the Atlanta Falcons as opposed to.
And certainly he's going to pay attention to those things. I mean,
again, it's not like an insignificant number, for $100 million. That's $5 million, right?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's good math.
Well,
don't leave any penny behind.
Let's call our shots here. All right, let's keep track of this, Lee, if you can. Let's go on the record. Where does Kirk Cousins end up signing? I'm saying Minnesota. I think he goes back.
Think he goes back? Yeah.
I strongly think it's Minnesota. I do, but Brady's been right so far, so I wouldn't be.
I just don't know why. He's 35 years old. I don't know why you draw this out. Because he's not going to reset the market with his contract, and I guess they're not going to give him fully guaranteed. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're just pushing, as you said, LeVar, for another team to try to negotiate for them. But I look at it and just go, why won't you just sign it then? Like, just sign the deal. Don't create any drama. You're coming back from an injury. Help rebuild this roster and move forward. I don't know why you'd need to draw this out. So I guess just to play devil's advocate, I'll say Atlanta.
All right. So,
but is it Kirk Cousins? Is it Minnesota dragging it out, or is it Kirk Cousins dragging it out?
Oh no, I think it's Kirk Cousins and his representation. Yeah, ball's in their court.
Yeah, I do too.
I also wonder this. I wonder because they said before the season, if we can't get a deal done, we're going to cut it off, or we'll talk after the season. I wonder if that rubbed him the wrong way a little bit, right? Or maybe even if, I don't know, like during the course of the season, the way he was playing, they didn't, ever approach him. Hey, let's try to get something done, because he was playing at a really high level. I wonder if that bothered him, if that maybe rubbed him the wrong way to a degree.
So Kevin O'Connell spoke last week, and I thought this was interesting because what's your takeaway from listening to him speak about the situation? Because this was him last week talking about talking about Kirk Cousins, and just the fact that there have been some other teams, that may be interested in his services.
The Combine just kind of gave everybody else an opportunity, even whether they're supposed to be or not, to maybe have some conversations. But I've been having kind of the dialogue that you have with a player like Kirk Cousins, the relationship we've built up over a long period of time. I know Kirk's going to go through a full process. He's a process guy. And, hopefully we continue to be a strong part in that process and we figure out a way to keep him a Minnesota Viking. But my expectation is we're not going to be the only ones that would like Kirk Cousins to be the quarterback of our team in 2024.
He also went on to talk about his record with Kirk Cousins as his quarterback and all the it feels to me Like my takeaway from hearing that is that Kevin O'Connell wants Kirk Cousins back, and maybe
he does.
Maybe it's kind of like a nod to the organization, like, hey, let's get this done.
Well, let's not forget this too. Justin Jefferson wants Kirk Cousins back, and Kevin O'Connell knows how important Justin Jefferson is to this offense. I mean, just taking a peek behind the closed doors, their offense, like they know every single week. Teams are they'll figure out how teams are going to play them based on how they're playing Justin Jefferson out there on the field. That's not like my opinion. That's what I know from conversations with them. And they understand the importance of having arguably the best, if not one of the best wide receivers on the roster. And if he's not happy, then everything kind of falls apart there for them, at least offensively speaking. So the importance of Kirk Cousins coming back is huge. Now, the question really becomes, what's the relationship between Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and ownership and how they're all working together to make sure they're all moving in the same direction? Because you might be getting one side of it, like the football side saying, we got to have him. We got to have him because this is the domino effect. If you don't have Cousins, it impacts Justin Jefferson. Then he doesn't want to sign a deal. He doesn't want to. Then it impacts the whole offense, which impacts, obviously the success of the team. And the Cousins business side of things may be, well, if you don't give him the contract that he's looking for, let's say that's a fully guaranteed, I don't know, say $40 million per year, right, for the next 3 or 4 years. He's at a point where coming off an Achilles injury, maybe that's tough to do, but give him 3 years of guarantee, see if you give $120 million and see if the Will family will do it. And if they won't, I think Atlanta might. They seem like they're a bit more desperate to sign a quarterback and to pay him that. And maybe that gets Minnesota to say, okay, well, if another team's willing to do it, then maybe we should be willing to do it, right, to LeVar's point. But I look at it and just feel like there's a big domino effect if he doesn't come back to Minnesota, what that looks like. And they can draft a first-round quarterback, but there's no guarantee you're going to get the same level of sophistication that you've gotten from Kirk Cousins running that system, running that offense.
Because you're basically starting over then.
They went 7-10 without him. They went 13-4 the year prior too.
He played a little bit this year, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that he's super valuable. And I wasn't even thinking about Justin Jefferson. Like, I wasn't even thinking about the other players. That adds more value to the value I had already been thinking about to begin with, of how much the dude is admired and how comfortable the team, how much they are with him. I just think that's a big void. How are you going to fill that void?
He was averaging 290 yards a game passing, 18 touchdowns to 5 interceptions after 8 games. Like, he was in the middle, almost completing 70% of his passes.
We were talking about he was like in an MVP type of season.
He was on pace roughly for 5,000 yards.
So you were laying out the quarterbacks on the AFC side, talking about Russell Wilson. Like, is Kirk Cousins the best quarterback in the NFC? Like, because there's an argument. Him and Dak.
I don't know. Stafford's pretty darn good. He's won a Super Bowl too.
But like, you look at him and you go, there's just not a lot of guys that you would say, oh, for sure I would take him over Kirk Cousins. Like it's a significant move.
Yeah. It's how do you replace that? How do you replace that? Who are you replacing that with? And justification is in order.
The odds on DraftKings, again, we talked about this a little bit last week, but J.J. McCarthy plus 300. The Vikings are the favorite to draft him. So,
I mean, it's a big tenor.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't move up. If things fall through with Cousins, I would not be shocked if they don't move up. I think every general manager in today's age feels similar to the comments of Brandon Beane, where, if he said, look, when we traded for Josh Allen, no one cares what you give up for him because you're not going to be here looking back on it if it doesn't work. And if it does work, right, you're going to be there. So no one's going to be second guessing it. And Minnesota's in that position, I think, to a degree, where if they don't have Kirk Cousins, they need to go get a guy. And if they're trading up to get whoever, now maybe not Caleb Williams because Chicago doesn't want to trade out, or Washington, whoever you throw in the conversation, but I would not be shocked if they didn't try to trade up and figure out some way of getting a guy that they feel like can come in right away and replace him if Cousins ends up going elsewhere.